Leonardo Di Caprio is of course more known for his roles in Catch Me If You Can, Titanic, The Wolf of Wall Street, and The Revenant. But in 2011, he did a role as J. Edgar Hoover, a movie many may not have heard about. But in context of the movie, I believe it is both the most underrated movie he has ever played in and his most underrated role. I feel in this role, DiCaprio sacrifices so much. He shows himself as vulnerable when his mom is about to die. He speaks in a dialect that very much mimics the tone that J. Edgar used in his battle against crime, and he echoes his passion and commitment to absolve the nation against criminals. And also, his constant crusade against communism is very much portrayed in this act done by DiCaprio. That is just such pure masterclass and should be cherished way more than it actually was when the movie came out. All the feelings, whether it is anger, despair, desperation, sadness, or whatever feeling, DiCaprio acts upon those with true conviction. That's why his performance is also that compelling. In the movie, you also see his friendship with his other character called Clyde Tolson that he so desperately wants to recruit, and it sort of becomes his right-hand man. In the movie, you also see a great role from Armie Hammer in that respect, as both the young and old version of Clyde, and how he has this strong but a little bit troubled relationship with the longest serving director of the FBI. By and large, however, you see how good friends they were and how they worked effectively together. What's extremely interesting about this movie is that you see how the FBI was formed through their previous name, BOI, and the name everybody knows, of course, FBI. You see how bad USA was at solving crime before their existence, and also how they were allowed to carry guns in 1934. What wild methods J. Edgar and his agents used to gain information, all these raids on the communists. In general, it has very many exciting moments. In short, the movie also has a couple of shootouts, wild discussions, and you really like the entertainment provided by the movie, which is often not the case in these types of drama/biographical movies. The movie also really shows what loyalty is about when J. Edgar even doubts the interests of his friend Tolson and his own agents in the Bureau. As he says near the end, I cannot trust anyone at the Bureau anymore. And it also shows his stubbornness as he got older. But really, J. Edgar, a man that worked himself to death almost, he is also a man that should know everything about loyalty. And this movie really shows that. You appreciate very much indeed, in addition, how you see different parts of the life J. Edgar lived, his personal struggles, how you see him on the road to becoming a young leader of the BOI at only 24 years old, and his time as the leader of the now well-known FBI, where he has meetings with presidents all the way to the last one before he died, Nixon. In addition, it is interesting to see the way he was feared because of all these secret files that they wanted to find, but they could never find them. A further good comment about the movie is how you see this very good tension in the scenes. For example, with the Lindbergh case that became known as the crime of the century, especially when DiCaprio tells these stories as a storyteller to Agent Smith. The tension is at its very peak, and it is enjoyable to follow the story as you learn about the ideas and thoughts of J. Edgar. Where all these stories might not be true, of course, as later denied by Tolson in the end, but it is still interesting to see how DiCaprio as J. Edgar tries to stamp himself as a true patriot for the American people throughout all these years. All in all, for me, this is really the most underrated movie DiCaprio has ever played in, and against all the odds, I have to give it an 8 out of 10, because this is really DiCaprio on top of his game.